Hey guys, I hope y'all are doing well tonight. I wanted it to I wanted to get on here and talk to you for a few minutes about something that's going on that the media is not covering. You actually have to dig to find the articles. You can find them on Facebook. Most of them are on We Are the Voice Facebook page. I've had them posted. I want to talk just a second about how the coronavirus is having an impact on the way that politicians are cracking down on Christians and pastors right now. Because I've had so much time to research things and read through articles and look at what people are saying and find the evidence for myself, and the more that I've had to dig, there's been 4 pastors that have been arrested in the last month for holding drive-in churches or drive-in church services. There was one church in Mississippi where the pastor was arrested and the people that were in the parking lots in their cars were fined $500 each. Howard Rodney Brown was arrested. Other pastors have been arrested for holding drive-in church services in the name of public health and safety. Now, I agree that we need to do things as far as social distancing to flatten the curve of the coronavirus, and we need to be, looking out for our fellow man and not spreading the virus. But here's a point that I'm making. Politicians are seizing the moment, and they're cracking down, and they are abusing our First Amendment rights, which is the right to peaceably assemble together is our First Amendment rights under our U.S. Constitution. And we also have the beautiful thing of the separation of church and state, which means that the church is exempt from following the directives that the state gives. Our forefathers put that in the Constitution as the separation of church and state. When the coronavirus started, the separation of church and state ceased to exist, to where the government started to crack down on pastors and Christians by not allowing them to go to church any longer inside of their buildings to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Which, in hindsight, if you would make the argument of, well, it's a safety precaution, it's public health and safety, it's a precaution to make sure that the virus is not spreading, you would have a legitimate point. Attorney General William Barr, he came out with an executive order from the president's office, that any politician that breaks the law or abuses the U.S. Constitution or targets Christians with no right to do that, or I'll say it another way, if politicians are abusing Christians' First Amendment rights to peaceably assemble together, then those politicians will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and they will be branded with treason against the United States. We have Bill de Blasio, who said, and another governor who also stated the same thing as of for Easter Sunday, both of them said something to the extent of, if people go to drive-in services, then people can take their license plates down and they will be forced to quarantine for 14 days and they will be fined or jailed for not cooperating with the state's mandate to social distance, even though they're in their cars. And one of the state judges in California actually struck down the directive from the governor in California and said that it was a violation of the First Amendment rights for Christians. And so they were allowed to have a drive-in service. That same church in California that had a drive-in service, people had put nails in every entrance of the church so that when people went to go into their church parking lot, their cars would be flattened because of the nails. Right now, there is a huge attack against Christians coming from politicians under the guise of public health and safety. Our First Amendment rights are being abused and they're being taken from us. Our separation of church and state no longer exists. Now the government can tell us what we can and cannot do, and that is a violation of our First Amendment rights within the Constitution. And we're not doing anything to fight against it. We're not waking up to the fact that our rights are being violated, our constitutional rights are being violated by our government. It's time that we wake up. It's time that we do our research. It's time that we do the digging. And it's time that we ask ourselves the real question. What is really going on underneath the surface of the coronavirus? And if you do your digging long enough, you will find that more and more Christians are being jailed. More and more pastors are being jailed. Christians are being fined for having drive-in services. Our freedom is being taken. And it's time that we wake up and we fight back against it. And it's time that we are a voice that says, no, you're not going to take our rights from us. No, we're not going to hand you our rights. Yes, we're going to take our freedom. Yes, we're going to meet under our first constitutional amendment right to peaceably assemble together. That cannot get taken even though there's a pandemic. That is still a constitutional right, and we have a right to voice that. But see, our rights don't come from God. Our rights don't come from politicians. In the Constitution, our forefathers said that we have inalienable rights, God-given inalienable rights. Our rights as Christians to come together are given by God, not by a government politician. Given by God. So we need to, as Christians, start to have a voice. We need to start to stand up for ourselves. We need to start waking up and doing our research and doing the digging and doing the due diligence and finding out what the real truth is that's going on. Because when we do, we're not going to be able to be silent anymore. It's time we have a voice and stand up and say enough is enough. God bless.